This is our last homework hint or example for section 1.7, and it has to do with investment return. Now, in a previous example, I told you we're going to be using these models, these simple mathematical models that will help us to work through the problem. And in this case, we're talking about interest. We're going to use simple interest, and maybe you remember this formula, but I equals PRT. P is principal, or the original amount you put in. Rate is just the interest rate, and then time is T. Now we're going to simplify this even more than it already is. We're going to assume that this is for the first year only. So what that means as far as T is that T is just 1. And so the model that I'm going to use for this one is even simpler. It's just I equals principal times rate. And so we're going to do that in this problem, and hopefully that will make things much easier to work with rather than having all these different parts that might take more consideration. So it says here, Reggie invests $12,000, part at 7% annual interest and part at 8.5% annual interest. How much is invested at each rate if Reggie's total annual interest is $900? Okay, so we are going to find out his interest. Now, if it was just the 7% account, then we could say 0.7 times x equals 900, and that would be his entire amount of interest. But unfortunately, we have two accounts, and we have to kind of go back and forth between those. So I have, as you can see already, defined my 7% account as the variable x. So that's how much money he's going to put into the 7% account. Now there's also that 8% account, and we want to define this variable too, and it's going to be done a lot like that last problem with the solution where it was 100 gallons for the final barrel. This time we have $12,000 as his total investment in the two different accounts. So if we know how much he invests at 7%, like let's say he invests $2,000 at 7%, that would mean that he's got $10,000 left to invest at the 8.5%. So whatever he invests here, we subtract that from 12,000 to get the amount that he invests here. So in order to do that in terms of a variable, we define this as 12,000 minus x. That way, the two add together to be 12,000, and the equation really balances out for us. It just works out better that way. So when we do that, as far as setting up this equation, as far as this goes, we're going to have then 0.07, that's important, it's 2 decimal places, 0.07x plus 0.085 times 12,000 minus x equals our total amount of interest, which we are hoping to be $900. So that should get you going there on this problem. There will be a lot of problems in this section that are set up in that way, where the variable for the second one is just the total minus the original one, minus the first one. So watch for that one. It'll come up a couple of times.